Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9. Text 1, a new chapter. How exciting.
Oh, another chapter Adi gave in this first one.
Is that something Adi Dev is known from?
Yeah,
It just sort of happened for the last 3 chapters. Not, well, previous 3 chapters. Until 8.
Brahmo Vacha.
Brahmo Vacha.
Yatosi.
Yatosi.
Medya.
Medya.
Suchiran.
Suchiran.
Nanu.
Nanu.
Deva Bhajam.
Devavajan.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Deva Bhajam.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Devavajan.
Na.
Na.
Jayate.
Jayate.
Bhagavato.
Bhagavato.
Gatir.
Gatir.
Ityavadyam.
Ityavadyam.
Na jayate Bhagavato Gatir Ityavadyam.
Nayate Bhagavato Gatir Ityavadyam.
Nanyat.
Nanyat.
Tvadasti.
Tadasti.
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
Api.
Api.
Tanna.
Tanna.
Shuddham.
Shuddham.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Api Tanna Shuddham.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Kapitanna Sudam.
Maya.
Maya.
Guna.
Guna.
Yatikarat.
Yatikarat.
Yad Urur.
Yadurur.
Vibhasi.
Vibhasi.
Maya Guna Yatikarat Yad Urur Vibhasi.
Maya Guna Yatikarat. Yadurur Vibhasi.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Deha Bhajam.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Devavajan.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatirithyavadyam.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatir Ityavadyam.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Api Tanna Shuddham.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Kapitanna Sudam.
Maya Guna Yatikarat Yadurur Vibhasi.
Maya Guna Yatikarat Yadurur Vibhasi.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Deha Bhajam.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Devavajan.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatirithyavadyam.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatir Ityavadyam.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Api Tanna Shuddham.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Kapitanna Sudam.
Maya Guna Yatikarat Yadurur Vibhasi.
Maya Guna Yatikarat Yadurur Vibhasi.
Please chant.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Deha Bhajam.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Devavajan.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatirithyavadyam.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatir Ityavadyam.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Api Tanna Shuddham.
Nanyat Tvadasti Bhagavan Kapitanna Sudam.
Maya Guna Yatikarat Yad Urur Vibhasi.
Maya Guna Yatikarat Yadurur Vibhasi.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Devavajan.
Yatosi Medya Suchiran Nanu Devavajan.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatir Ityavadyam.
Nanyayate Bhagavato Gatir vivasi. Maya guna vyatara vivasi masi.
Brahmovacha.
Brahmovacha.
Lord Brahma said,
Lord Brahma said,
Yataha.
Yataha.
Known.
Known.
Asi.
Asi.
You are.
You are.
Me.
Me.
By me.
By me.
Adya.
Adya.
Today.
Today.
Suchirat.
Suchirat.
After a long time.
After a long time.
Nanu.
Nanu.
But.
But.
Dehabhajam.
Devajam.
Of one who has a material body.
Of one who has material body.
Na.
Na.
Not.
Not.
Yayate.
Yayate.
Is known.
Is known.
Bhagavataha.
Bhagavataha.
Of the personality of Godhead.
Of the personality of Godhead.
Gatihi.
Gatihi.
Course.
Course.
Iti.
Iti.
So it is.
So it is.
Avadyam.
Avadyam.
Great offense.
Great offense.
Na anyat.
Na anyat.
None beyond.
None beyond.
Tvat.
Tvat.
You.
You.
Asti.
Asti.
There is.
There is.
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
O my Lord.
Oh my Lord.
Api.
Api.
Even though there is.
Even though there is.
Tat.
Tat.
Anything that may be.
Anything that may be.
Na.
Na.
Never.
Never.
Shuddham.
Shuddham.
Absolute.
Absolute.
Maya.
Maya.
Material energy.
Material energy.
Gunavyatikarat.
Gunavyatikarat.
Because of the mixture of the modes of.
Of the modes of.
Yat.
Yat.
To which.
To which.
Guruhu.
Guru.
Transcendental.
Transcendental.
Vibhasi.
Vivasi.
You are.
You are.
Lord Brahma said, O my Lord, today after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are, that they are unable to know you personally. My Lord, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as the supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter. Purport. The highest peak of the ignorance of the living entities who are conditioned by material bodies is that they are unaware of the supreme cause of the cosmic manifestation. Different people have different theories regarding the supreme cause, but none of them are genuine. The only supreme cause is Vishnu, and the intervening impediment is the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord has employed his wonderful material energy in manifesting many, many wonderful distractions in the material world, and the conditioned souls illusioned by the same energy are thus unable to know the supreme cause. The most stalwart scientists and philosophers, therefore, cannot be accepted as wonderful. They only appear wonderful because they are instruments in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord. Under illusion, the general mass of people deny the existence of the Supreme Lord and accept the foolish products of illusory energy as supreme. One can know the supreme cause, the personality of Godhead, by the causeless mercy of the Lord, which is bestowed upon the Lord's pure devotees like Brahma and those in his disciplic succession. By acts of penance only was Lord Brahma able to see the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and by realization only could he understand the Lord as he is. Brahma was extremely satisfied upon observing the magnificent beauty and opulence of the Lord, and he admitted that nothing can be comparable to him. Only by penance can one appreciate the beauty and opulence of the Lord, and when one is acquainted with that beauty and opulence, he is no longer attracted by any other. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishpa Nivartate. Foolish human beings who do not endeavor to investigate the supreme beauty and opulence of the Lord are here condemned by Brahma. It is imperative that every human being try for such knowledge, and if anyone does not do so, his life is spoiled. Anything that is beautiful and opulent in the material sense is enjoyed by those living entities who are like crows. Crows always engage in picking at rejected garbage, whereas the white ducks do not mix with the crows. Rather, they take pleasure in transparent lakes with lotus flowers, surrounded by beautiful orchards. Both crows and ducks are undoubtedly birds by birth, but they are not of the same feather. Om Jnana-Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Vidita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sandho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Radha Kantanamosage Tapta Kanchana Goram Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpataru Krishna Kripasandhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Do you know that one, Maruti? Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Here, you know this one, Madhu. You want to sing this one with me? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I've been trying to prioritize what verses I teach Maruti because my original inclination was just whatever verse I'm learning, I'll teach him. But that ended up putting the poor kid with some lengthy verses, which he managed to do. But now I'm thinking triage, pick those which are of immediate utmost importance. And so I went back to Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha because I couldn't think of any more important verse than offering respects to the Vaishnavas and specifically to one's spiritual master. Brahmavacha Gyato Simedya Suchiran Nanudeha Bhajam Nagyayate Bhagavato Katirityavadyam Nanyatvadasti Bhagavan Apitan Nashuddham Maya Purnapyati Karat Yadurur Vibhasi. Lord Brahma said, O my Lord, today, after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are, that they are unable to know you personally. My Lord, you are the only knowable object, because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as the supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter. This is, there's a lot to unpack in this verse. I suppose every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam could be delved into much more deeply, but with 30 minutes we'll do what we can. Gyatosi, gyataha, asi, me, adya suchira. So after many, many years I've got this opportunity, and it was noted in the purport that by tapa, by penance, he was granted the darshan of the Lord, and by realization, he was given the understanding of needing to serve the Lord. Or let's see, have I butchered that completely? By acts of penance only was Lord Brahma able to see the Garbhuta Kashaya Vishnu, and by realization only could he understand the Lord as he is. So understanding the Lord as He is precedes service to the Lord. By tapasya, great demons are also able to be granted the audience of such personalities as Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, even Lord Vishnu. Some demons are given the opportunity to see Lord Vishnu by their austerities, whether it's austerities that make them so powerful that they're causing disturbances to the Vaishnavas, and therefore Lord Vishnu has to show up, and that's one way of getting his audience. But the intent of getting that audience is something besides serving the Lord. Even great yogis, they finally at last achieve some level of Paramatma realization, and then they think they've seen themselves. Or you see the Lord and instead of wanting to serve, you want to kill him. So by realization, one can understand the Lord as he is. And Lord Brahma here has understood the Lord as he is, and he's lamenting the condition of those who are embodied. The second I saw Deha Bhajam, I immediately thought of Nayam Deha Deho Bhajam, the instructions of King Rishabdev to his sons. So I will read that to you. My dear boys, of all the living entities, Maruti, this is your father instructing you also. My dear boy, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form, what should we do, Maruti, now that we have this human form of life, this opportunity? What should we do? Do you know what we should do? Now that we have this wonderful human body and this ability to speak and this ability to interact, what should we use this human form for? Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. One who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service, the highest of which is the chanting of the Maha Mantra, at least for those of us in Kali Yuga, as instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. Eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. That sounds pretty good. I definitely would take that over this Deha Bhajam, this accepting of a material body which lasts for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and at last dies. The fearful condition of samsara. So Brahma is pointing out how unfortunate are these embodied living entities that they're unable to know you personally. He has gotten good fortune, and his instant thought isn't, oh, I've got good fortune, good on me. His instant thought is, I've got this good fortune, what about others? They're so unfortunate, they're stuck with this understanding that their body is all in all. And then there's this line, and I really, really like this line. Nanyat tvadasti bhagavan apitan na shuddham. This is quite an interesting little twist. Apitan na shuddham. Api, although there may appear to be something superior to Krishna, na shuddham, it's not the absolute. That which appears to be of some value is that reflection which appears in darkness. Ritartam tada pratiyeta. Pratiyeta, it appears to have some artha, but rite, it's completely without any artha. Ritartam tad pratiyeta. Na pratiyeta chatmani. If it doesn't have relation to me, Krishna is saying, if it's without relation atmani with me, then na pratiyeta. It has no value. Vidyad, tad vidyad, not manomayam. Not manomayam, is that right? Tad vidyad, know that which is not related to me to be that reflection, bhasate, abhasate, tamaha, yata bhasate yata tamaha, that reflection which appears in darkness. Because it has no relation to Krishna, although it may appear pratiyeta, although it may appear to be of some value, it's actually Maya. And this is this little Maya guna vyatikara. The disciples of Srila Prabhupada, there's a nice little, and it's, I must admit, trying to think how to word this non-offensively. I think we all agree. The level of authority, when you read purports that Prabhupada has written, it gains a special impact. You're more inclined to quote it. But the purports written by disciples of Srila Prabhupada, I found also have a lot of impact because it's almost exclusively translations of the Acharya's commentaries. So it's very powerful. But still, I tend to quote those purports written by Prabhupada more. But there is one verse in the 11th canto that was taught to me by Javita Prabhu, and because I like the verse so much, I've read it and the purport numerous times. Bhayam dvityam animeshatas, yeah. That bhaya, fear, comes from seeing something as separate from Krishna. And in that purport, this same phrasing, guna vyatikarat, is quoted. And Hridayananda Maharaj or Gopi Pranadam Prabhu, whoever compiled this particular purport, points out that guna vyatikarat, this conflict of gunas, this mixing, transformations of modes of material nature, create the impression for atheistic men that God consciousness, that Krishna is also a result of these mixing of modes of material nature. Guna vyatikara. And this concept to consider apitam nashuddham, that which is superior, to have some absolute quality. What is that in King Lear? Nature, thou art my goddess. He's been dealt a bad hand. He's the bastard son. Well, we won't delve into Shakespeare too far. But nature, thou art my goddess. He says, okay, forget everything else. You know, if I've been dealt a bad hand, let me enjoy. Let me consider that whatever position I have, let me squeeze every drop of enjoyment. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. This concept that something can be derived from science, something can be derived from whatever pathetic little material goal we have. Without relation to Krishna, it's Maya. It's not going to satisfy us. It's not going to give us that, what we just read in Rishabhadev's instructions, that transcendental to that blissful, that eternal blissful life which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kavunai. It's not achieved by any sort of sadhya. Let's find that actually. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kavunai. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitti. Kodayo Udoy. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. It's an intrinsic part of us. It's not achievable by some external function. Bahirartha mukhi. We're always looking externally for something that can be found within. Of course, can be found without also. Bahir Nishingho, Hridaya Nishingho. Wherever Prahlad Maharaj is looking, he's seeing Nishingdev. So this love, this Krishna prema, is something to be found within. It's not achievable by looking for the absolute in some other sphere, as Lord Brahma is pointing out. And just as I quoted Ritartam Tad Pratiyeta, this sort of, not directly glossed, but this instructions of Krishna to Lord Brahma. Brahma also, when he says, when I saw, let's see. Jai Shri Shri At last, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. So I must admit, I used the ultimate cheat, the guru cheat. So every last Saturday of each month we have a disciples meeting. The disciples of my Guru Maharaj, we meet together on a Zoom conference. And when any questions were asked of us, nobody immediately responded. So I inquired about this. Nanyat tvadasti bhagavan apitan nishuddham. I asked my Guru Maharaj about this. And his instant reply was Matta parataram nanyat kinchadasti dhananjaya. He pulled this word nanyat, that nothing beyond. Matta parataram, it's the opinion of Krishna that there is nothing beyond me. Matta parataram nanyat kinchadasti dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, which is kind of an interesting little name of Arjuna to throw in. You'll notice when you read Bhagavad Gita, these names aren't randomly selected. Like when Arjuna, he says, Katam Bhishma Maham Sanki Dronam Cha Madhusudana. He says, you're Madhusudana. You're the killer of the demon Madhu, your enemy. Or he refers to Krishna as Arisudana, killer of your enemies. He says, Katam Bhishma Aham Sanki. How am I going to fight with Bhishma Dev? Dronam Cha and Dronacharya. This is my grandfather, my teacher, Madhusudana. You're not Yashoda Sudana, Nanda Sudana. You're Madhusudana. You're not the killer of your family members. You kill your enemies. And so when these names come up, they often have some special meaning. And I was thinking in this Matta Paratanam Nanya Kinchadasti Dhananjaya, that I am the supreme. There's nothing beyond me, O conqueror of wealth. It has that funny little contradiction that, you can conquer the whole world. You can gain unlimited wealth, but there's nothing superior to me. This is the ultimate wealth. The real wealth of the sadhus is Krishna. So this is the opinion of Krishna, and Krishna happens to be directly Lord Brahma's spiritual master as well. So repeating the words of Krishna in his case is both the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as well as the words of his spiritual master. What a fortunate position. Although I must say, I consider our position even more fortunate in that we have so many spiritual masters, a whole line of acharyas leading up to Krishna. We get to get triple mercy. It's said that you get the mercy of your spiritual master, but it can sometimes be guru, very heavy. But the grand spiritual master is very merciful, very soft. So by separating ourselves by so many degrees from Krishna, he's our great grand spiritual master. So Krishna can be a little bit soft on us and through the disciplic succession allow us to render service. So this Nanya, my spiritual master pointed out in this first purport, in this first paragraph of the purport. This is being pointed out that there's so many wonderful material manifestations, and this illusion is displayed by stalwart scientists and philosophers. Therefore, cannot be accepted as wonderful, like little glowworms. In the darkness of night in tamas, all these little glowworms come out and they appear very brilliant. Wow, look at what he's presenting. But when the sun comes out, then they're insignificant. So when we get this realization from Srimad Bhagawatam, these philosophical understandings, then all the scientists and stalwart philosophers then seem very puny, very foolish. I was just hearing a lecture the other day by Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, and it was called The Adventure of Life. And in it, he was pointing out that Walden, written by Henry David Thoreau, which was almost my Bible at some point. I thought it was so valuable. It was so amazing that this guy, such a brilliant writer, goes off and lives out in the forest for some time. It's like, what a concept to remove yourself from society. But Kadamba Maharaj pointed out that after removing himself from society, came back and printed a book about it and mass distributed it. It's sort of, this conflict in which he's removing himself from society, but then he needs relationships. We all need relationships. And so all of these things, a scientist has the conflicting difficulty of proclaiming life derives from matter, some binary code of zeros and ones make us up, basically proclaiming that life is useless, and then persisting to try to live with all, facilities for enjoyment. It's this contradictory nature that we see going back and forth, and all of these contradictions are resolved in Krishna consciousness, wherein we have a broader understanding of what's happening. And very nicely stated in the second paragraph, that by penance one can appreciate the beauty and opulence of the Lord, and when one is acquainted with that beauty and opulence, he is no longer attracted by any other. Param drishtvani bhartate. Then it's very easy to give up the lower taste when we have the higher taste. After seeing Krishna's beauty, as was pointed out by Adidev Prabhu, seeing the beautiful lotus eyes of Venkateshwara, or who did he say? I forget this. Who is it? Oh, you're right here, Ranganath. I didn't realize you snuck in so silently. Adidev Prabhu is very, very quiet mountain. One of the great qualities of a devotee is silent. Ranganath. So, Ramanujacharya presented that if I can show you a pair of eyes more beautiful than these eyes of this maiden that you're so captivated with, then will you surrender to that? And certainly. If you can show me a pair of eyes more beautiful than this, then I will certainly be very impressed. So he showed Ranganath, wow, how beautiful are the eyes of the Lord. Param drishtvani bhartate. Instantly give up the silly little globs of gunk we call eyes. The transcendental eyes, the Shuddha. There you go, how's that for Shuddha? Is that Ishopanishad? Asnavidam Shuddham Avidha Papam. Is that how it goes? Asnavidam, that the Lord doesn't have veins. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the Lord is distinct from the living entities because he doesn't have this material body made up of veins and skin and all these nasty things. He's pointing out Asnavidam Shuddham Avidha Papam. He's Shuddha, transcendental. He's the ultimate living being. And we also, by quality, are the same. We're not meant to be captured and incarcerated in this tabernacle, in this vehicle of punishment, vehicle of suffering. We're meant to enjoy that eternal, blissful life mentioned by King Rishabh. Shuddha. Here it is. Shuddha. Antiseptic. That's how it's described. Asnavyam Shuddham. So Ishopanishad describes Krishna as antiseptic and apapavidham, prophylactic. He's antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him. I was mentioning with Ken in the Prasadam Hall the other day that he was mentioning to me, we were discussing scents, that every living being has his own scent. And Ken was pointing out, that's his name, Ken, right? Okay. Ken was pointing out that by our contact with various things in our day-to-day lives, by association, by what we eat, our bodies develop a certain fragrance in different modes. And one can understand someone's consciousness by what he associates with. And when he mentioned that, I thought, oh, how nice that when Krishna touched the body of Putana, instantly her scent became so purified that when her body was burned, it was fragrant for miles around. So Krishna is antiseptic and prophylactic. The words of Ishopanishad, by the power of his association. A devotee may appear to be sudurachara, not well behaved in the beginning, but he should be accepted as pure because he is on the right path. This is due to the prophylactic nature of the Lord's association. Wow. Shuddha. The prophylactic nature of the Lord's association. So we should endeavor in all aspects of life, even, from the more conscious we are. You can't be Krishna conscious until you're conscious. And most of what people do in material society is unconscious. If it feels good, do it. Grab a bag of Doritos, rip it open, eat it. Don't even look at what's in it. You know, it's a lot of these things that are handed to us. It's kind of scary what we stick in our bodies without thinking. I just did a job yesterday, and the lady, out of gratitude, handed me a goodie bag. And the last time I had visited her, she gave me a fresh papaya right off her tree. And I was so happy with that. We offered it to our Didis, Gopal, and Gornitai. And it was so nice. And this time I was praying for another papaya, but instead I got a bag full of, I barely glanced over, I don't even know what it was called, but one bag of chips was called Munchies. And I could just tell by looking at it that it wasn't something I was going to munch. Shuddha, it's not Shuddha. It's Kudha, Woodha, Shuddha, Kudha, Woodha been Shuddha if it had been a papaya. But instead it was some nonsense, something I would never put in my body. Ahara Shuddha. What is that? In Chandogya Upanishad. Prabhupada quotes this in the Bhagavad Gita in one purport. I liked it because it reminded me of my father. He's very interested in Ayurveda. But Ahara Shuddha. It's in the section talking about Yajna, I think 3rd chapter. And Prabhupada points out that what we eat should be Shuddha. And then Smriti, Dhruva Smriti, Grantinam. Should we find it? Memory is so fallible. Let's find this. Let's find it. Dhruva Smriti Aham. Bhagavad Gita 3:11. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So, by performance of yajnas, all activities become purified. Ahara Shuddhao Sattva Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhao Dhruva Smriti, Smriti Lambhe Sarva Granthinam Vipramoksha. So, one's eatables become sanctified, and by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. And by the purification of one's existence, finer tissues of memory become sanctified. Smriti Lambhe, one achieves the finer tissues of memory, and then one can remember verses like this. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. Vipramoksha. Sarva Granthina, the Granthi, all those knots in the heart will be untied and one can think of liberation. So this is the Shuddha, this effect that we're looking for. Apitanda Shuddham. Not in relation to Krishna, and then it's not Shuddha. In relation to Krishna, then it's Shuddha. So the effect of eating good foodstuffs shouldn't be a virile body for sense gratification, but a virile body for service. As we see in his old age, Purana Rishi Prabhu climbing 70 feet up a banyan tree and cutting limbs. Quite amazing. He could be using that same vigorous energy for accumulating a lot of wealth, but he lives very humbly in Alachua and does service for free for the temple and for devotees. I trimmed the tree off my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law's house, Danya and Bali. They had a big oak limb going out over their roof, big dead limb. And I saw it, and I vicariously felt some trepidation and concern for the roof. And so I climbed up and trimmed it, and out of curiosity I inquired from Purana Rishi Prabhu, who kindly allowed me to use his gear, his climbing saddle and ropes. I said, how much would you charge for this job? In Hawaii, this job would have been easily $1,500, without question. The danger of rigging massive multi-100-pound logs. Each oak, it's the densest wood. I think Purana Rishi Prabhu told me pound for pound, it's the densest hardwood there is. So when you lift up a small piece of this, oh, it's so heavy, much heavier than monkey pod or mango or any of these. It's quite amazing. So the danger of rigging this over the roof, pulling it down, easily 1,500 for that one limb. And Purana Rishi Prabhu said, oh, for the devotees, I would have done this whole thing for $300. What a deal. So amazing, his service attitude. You know, he has no desire for, oh, let me squeeze every buck out of them. It's, you know, and in this case, we just did it for free. And they, out of gratitude, Danyan Bali gave some donation to Purana Rishi Prabhu, which probably amounted what he was asking for anyway, so it's very nice. But this desire to serve, this is the ultimate shuddha, the ultimate purpose for having good food, a lot of strength. All of these things are an endeavor to serve Krishna. And when it becomes a distraction from Krishna, then it's no longer of value. Better to have a weak body and chant Hare Krishna than to have a very strong body to dance in the nightclubs. The same thing goes for coronavirus. It's very important to maintain our health, and all precautions should be undertaken to some degree. If it becomes a major preoccupation that my whole life is how to avoid the virus, how to protect myself from this virus so that I can serve Krishna, but actually the whole day you're only thinking about a virus. I'm bringing it up because it was another topic in today's Sangha. My Guru Maharaj was pointing out that much more dangerous than the coronavirus is the Maya virus. And he said that when one's consciousness is diverted, there's so many things that can divert our consciousness. Never mind that, how about go on a campaign to stop animal slaughter? How about go on a campaign to stop the destruction of rainforests? How about go on a campaign against pornography? There's so many things that can occupy our mind. There's so many demonic influences in this world that can absolutely absorb 100% of our attention. That can appear to be more important than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That can appear to be of some value. But if it doesn't tie back into Krishna consciousness, then useless. Any comments, questions, corrections, blissful realizations? Anything happening in your lives of great value connected to Krishna that you'd like to share?
So the last part you were mentioning about, I remember how when Prabhupada was putting forward the argument that, India is under the British rule, so that is more important right now than the spiritual life.
Really nice example, yeah.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur just smashed it, says, this is all temporary in India, it's now free, or in the future it will be not free, whatever that condition is. It's all temporary situation. The spiritual life is permanent, and one has to strive for that, not for the things which are temporary.
Yeah, such a nice point. Adidev Prabhu brought up that Prabhupada was feeling that as long as we are under British rule, how can we preach Krishna consciousness? How can we be successful in spreading? First, we need to emancipate ourselves, and then we can preach. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada smashed that. Yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. I was reading, as I was looking through Pocket Vedas, I was reading this. I just searched some Sanskrit word, and as I was reading, I was thinking, I've never read a purport like this in Prabhupada's books. He's really going all out in this deep, abstruse way. And then I clicked on the source and I realized it was Brahma Samhita. It was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's writing. I said, that's why I didn't understand any of it. So yeah, he's very powerful. Alright, with that we can have ahara shuddha. We can purify our eating with prasad.